So I guess this is the video where I really start to make everybody kind of hate me. Um, I wanted to talk about I want to talk about how I think Marvel really needs to start taking some risks, some more risks, because I feel like the Marvel movies really, particularly the movies, haven't really done a lot to try and change uh, or really try anything new. The biggest example that I have of this is the Doctor Strange movie. Uh, Now, I am not a Doctor Strange fan in the way of like I've never really read the comics of Doctor Strange. I mean, I've read him when he like appeared in like other stuff, uh, but I've never been like a huge Doctor Strange fan. So when the movie was coming out, I was ecstatic. I was like, uh, "Oh, this is gonna make me a Doctor Strange fan." Like, I very rarely do I get to go into a comic book movie and uh, give my opinions and stuff like that. So yeah, or not. Very rarely do I get to go into a comic book movie not knowing the material, at least on some level. Uh, so I was really excited. Um, and they said that Dormammu was going to be the villain, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Because Dormammu's the fire-headed guy. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I'm going to become a fan of this character. He shows up in, like, 5 minutes of the movie, uh, if that, and has that, kind of cool scene with Doctor Strange, Dormammu, I've come to bargain, uh, which was a cool scene, but he's not really a villain. Uh, well, I mean, he's a villain, but he's not really there. And I was just kind of disappointed by that. Uh, and another thing that I really kind of don't like is like how Marvel constantly seems to be undercutting any scene with drama to just land a joke. Uh, like there's that one scene with him and Rachel McAdams in the hospital uh, washroom thing. I don't know what you call it, but and they actually have like a really really good moment. Uh, and then they have to completely undercut that with some comedy, because it feels like they don't want to have like any like really kind of dark moments in a movie. Now, I'm not saying they should go DC's route and be really dark, because I have my own issues with DC, and maybe I'll do a video on that. But I mean, I'm planning on doing a couple of videos tonight anyway. But uh, the point is that I feel like they're not really taking any major kind of risks with anything, particularly in the movies. It in and the cosmic or the magic stuff uh, was cool in the movie, uh, but I just kind of felt like I'd seen this kind of stuff before in a movie. Like I've seen the the kind of weird trippy stuff in a movie. Personally, what I would have liked to see and what I thought would have been cool is if they would have gone into like a universe that was like drawn like in the same style of like Jack Kirby. That would have been awesome. Where they do like an animated part of the movie. Like that would have been really cool. Um, but I honestly just kind of feel like Marvel's really not taking a lot of the same risks they used to. You know, and another, I guess this is going to be just me focusing on Doctor Strange. Uh, Another thing I didn't like about Doctor Strange was like in the beginning, because I went to go see it with a friend, and we kind of had this argument of like, uh, whether Doctor Strange was kind of being an ass in the beginning of the movie. I'm like, I mean, he's being kind of an ass, but he's not like someone where I'm just like, oh, this is a guy like who really, like he wasn't somebody where I was just like completely not in the way of like maybe that's how he is in the comics, uh, but I was just kind of like, well, I kind of like I heard like Doctor Strange was kind of this arrogant surgeon, and I've seen that classic panel where he just kind of lights up a cigarette while walking out of the OR, which it's a very '60s thing to do. Uh, but you have all these kind of people who. Sorry, I haven't done a video for a while, and I'm trying to get back into it. What was my point? Oh, my point is that the guy who he saved is like, and he talks to the doctor guy, and he's like, look, you need to do your job better, because, someone would have died, and, you're not wrong in that situation. Uh, and then the other scene he talked about was in the car when he's talking on the phone, and he gets offered like a grandmother needs surgery and she's probably not going to make it. Again, it's kind of a douchey thing, but I was like, that doesn't really make him an asshole. Uh, you know, he doesn't like. I felt like Doctor Strange didn't really go through an arc in this movie. Um, where he was like, oh my god, I was a terrible person and I need to make up for that. They hint at it maybe with Rachel McAdams' character, but again, they don't really. They tell us that they don't really show it. Um, you know, so for me, that was kind of the big thing with that, where I was just like, oh, it's not really not like the worst thing in the world. So again, maybe I'm just crazy. Um, I felt like there was something else I wanted to talk. Oh, the whole thing with like Baron Mordo. Okay, so when the hell is that ever gonna pay off? Because like I had gotten into this argument with my friend on the way home, where I was like, we, it feels kind of unnecessary to set him up this early as a villain. At least in the way they did. Like if they hinted at it, I would have been fine. But again, when is that story going to pay off? We don't even have a release date for Doctor Strange 2. We have, the next movie in the MCU is Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. Uh, and I don't think that's not really going to deal with Dormammu. If anything, it's probably going to deal more with Thanos. Although I heard Thanos isn't going to show up in that movie, which I'm actually kind of glad about. Spider-Man Homecoming after that, which doesn't really have any reason to deal with that, and I don't want them to deal with the fallout of that. After that is Black Panther, which, again, you don't really need to deal with that. And then we're going into Infinity War, which isn't really going to have time to deal with any of that, along with Miss Marvel and all of that stuff. And I'm like, we're not really going to get this paid off for another couple of years. So, yeah, like I was like, well, that's kind of a waste, because like, what is he going to be doing for that whole time? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being crazy. Um, I mean, if you like the movie, that's fine. I just had some problems with it. In my opinion, this does not deserve like a 91 on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, for me, it's like a 75, 7.5 out of 10. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's just I've got some major kind of problems with it. Um, yeah, and I just kind of wish Marvel would do, kind of let scenes cook and, let the movies. I don't know. Uh, so yeah, um, I'm gonna be putting up a bunch of videos tonight. So, yeah, okay. I guess that's really all I have to say.